Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie. Hello and welcome to The Money Factor. I'm Richard Naylor, your host. Today's show is about fundraising for nonprofits. And my guests are Denise Nicastro. She's the Assistant Director of the American Diabetes Association. She's local. And Howard Katz, one of their dedicated volunteers. I want to welcome you both to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start with a little bit about the American Diabetes Association, so at least we get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
You could talk about what brought you to ADA, or also about what you're doing and why it's so important. Obviously, diabetes is one of the main problems in our society that runs very deep.
That's true. Well, Richard, the ADA has been around since 1940. What brought me to the organization is I was a participant in the Tour de Cure, their cycling fundraising event, probably about 13 years ago. I registered. I did not know anyone, nor did I have diabetes, but I had heard it was a great event. So I was a new cyclist. I registered. I had an amazing day, a great experience. The support, the staff were awesome. The support out on the routes was tremendous. And I came back every year until eventually 4 years ago I came on as staff. So their position opened as their coordinator, the associate director. So I applied for the position and was hired. I had already known much of the staff. I was a team captain for Gold's Gym for at least 8 years, and we came on board as a national sponsor, Gold's Gym did, and we were the top team for a number of years until we were kicked out of our top spot.
That sounds really great that you actually were somebody who cared about the mission before you even had a job.
Yes, exactly. So it was, and it's nice because I have the perspective now as a cyclist, having participated in what I would have looked for and what I found, and I was so drawn to the event. And again, the people that I met along the way on the routes, the people that were out there on the sides with their signs saying, "Thank you for riding for my cause to help, find a stop or cure for diabetes." It was very inspiring. It was very moving, and I couldn't have been happier. So it really, and it was so organized. It was very easy and seamless. The staff were always there. So we've continued that trend. For I've been there 4 years now, and
Great.
I have enjoyed every single day. It's a great
Super.
experience.
Howard, you're the volunteer extraordinaire here. Denise just thinks so much of you. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the tour and the fundraising?
Sure. Well, I'm co-captain of a team called Kivort Steel, and I guess I should back up and say how Kivort Steel got involved.
Right.
That would be the beginning. And my good friend and golf buddy, Rob Kivort, owns Kivort Steel, and his friend Dave Canfield, who had been riding in Tour de Cure, convinced him to ride. But Rob at that time didn't have a bike, didn't know anything about Tour de Cure, didn't really realize he knew anyone that had diabetes. It wasn't anything he was thinking about. And but he rode in it, and he rode 100 miles, and he was he had met his physical challenge, and he was so impressed by everything that Denise just talked about. It's an incredible event. You'd be hard pressed to find a better event as far as how well organized it is, how safe they try to make it for all the riders, and what have you. So he was so taken by it that he called me when it was over and said, "You just need to be involved. This is not," and I pretty much dismissed it. And the rest of Rob's story pretty much is that when he was driving home after the event, he realized his brother's at type 1. It's like he had never even thought about.
Now that's the worst.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
the
Well,
one
that's
with the
yes,
injection.
yes, if you will. Yeah, type 1 diabetes, juvenile diabetes,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, that's where you're insulin dependent. And so he and his business partner Michael decided to put together a team and sponsor it. It took him a few years to convince me. I had to go out and buy a bicycle just to ride and tour, and I did it. And when it was over, I rode 25 miles. I was pretty happy with that. And it was over. My daughter Jennifer being learning disabled, also had diabetes, and she said to me, "Thanks for riding, Dad."
Wow.
And I said, "Why are you thanking me for riding?" And she said, "Because you raised money." And I said, "But it didn't put any money in your pocket." And she said, well, it was still good for diabetes. And I tell people that was my aha moment. Like,
Wow.
that's like, in all the years she had diabetes, it never even crossed my mind to do anything for that cause. And so I met with Rob and Dave Canfield, our co-captain, and said, how do you feel about me getting involved as co-captain and try to take this to some new level? And at that point, we were a good participant. We were a good team.
Yes.
But we went from 10 riders that they had in their first year to last year where we had 168 riders. And we were the third highest fundraising team in the United States behind Craigslist and Walmart.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So
When you think about some of the other places in the U.S., New York City has a few well-paid people. And
yeah. Well, that was just
Silicon
our
Valley.
team. That's not even to tell you about what
Wow.
the Capital Region Tour, ADA office and Tour de Cure did. Then Denise should talk about that because those are bragging rights of hers.
I want to go in a little deeper in one thing you said before we go broader. Your motivation, because getting volunteers is very important. You weren't as emotionally attached to finding a cure for the diabetes as just helping. Is that correct?
It's a chicken and egg thing, I
Okay.
guess. I guess I hadn't thought about it at all until that aha moment, and then I just realized the part that I can do is help raise money. I can't do the research or what have you.
Right.
But my daughter passed away 3 years ago, and I know she did not pass away from diabetes, but diabetes made her life miserable. And so a cure, beyond just insulin's not a cure. People don't realize how serious diabetes is, and they think, you have insulin, so you're okay.
It's like giving blood to somebody who's got a wound, right? It's not going to stop the wound. It's keeping them going.
Yeah, I guess that's reasonable. And but worse than that, it just affects your life in everything you do. And so it was just the part that I can do is help raise money, and so that the people that work on a cure, and beyond that, what ADA works on, Denise can speak about, is advocacy and the things that they do for people who, while they're living with diabetes, whether it's students at a school who have diabetes, and to be able to do their blood, their finger pricks, and all of those things without being made to have to go to the nurse's office and be made to feel already so much more. She can talk about those things, but there's a lot that ADA does besides funding things for the cure.
Okay. Let's broaden it now a little bit. We're kind of somewhere between realizing that the money factor here is so vital to the cure.
True.
And yet, it's really about diabetes, and then it's also about all the other things that people need to raise money for. So when we talk about fundraising for nonprofits, we're using you, I guess, as a shining example of success and trying to learn from you. So the other people who are trying to do cancer, or breast cancer, or whatever else, sometimes they're wondering, well, how can we do better? Mm-hmm. And when you look at somebody who does so well, especially compared to the entire country, you've got a lot to teach us.
Yeah, we do have tremendous bragging rights. Actually, in the Business Review a few weeks ago, we're listed as the third largest local fundraising event, top with our money, how much we've raised. We raised $1 million in last year's tour in 2012, so we were very proud of that.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and there are 90 tours across the country, and the Saratoga Springs tour is the third largest fundraising tour in the country. And
wow.
We are behind only Napa Valley is first, and Silicon Valley is second, and then Saratoga Springs. So,
wow.
And then the other large cities behind us, Denver, Colorado, Atlanta, Georgia. So we are often asked, how do you do it? So, and it's really, honestly, it's very simple. We provide great customer service. We're very detail-oriented, so we provide a great experience, which brings riders back. They spread the word. Our riders are our best advocates. They talk to other people and say, we did this. It's fantastic. Come with us. Join our team. We have people like Howard, again, being volunteer-driven. We have a tremendous planning committee that helps make the day of event happen. Our office staff is just 4. We run very lean and mean. Most of everything that we get for a day of event is donated
and
in-kind
that's something
sponsors.
that everybody worries about when they donate to something or help out.
Yeah.
How much of the money goes to actually help?
Right. So it's three-prong. The money that comes in from the tour across the country actually goes back to the national organization, and it goes to education, advocacy, and research. So it's it's really distributed equally amongst. And as far as locally, it's based on the needs. So it's hard to tell you exactly how much comes back. It's based on programs that are out there, the requirements and needs, and then it's distributed that way, depending on who needs what and how much they need. So yes, volunteers are the heart and soul of our event. People like Howard, again, he gives up so much time and energy and is so passionate about it. You can find him at any given place, any given weekend, out recruiting riders for his team, which ultimately brings the money back to the organization.
That's priceless.
It is. It is. We are very, very lucky. We have an executive committee that have done a tremendous job. Angelo Mazzone is our executive chair this year, new role for him. He has a corporate team, so the money that comes into our organization comes from corporate sponsorship, grants, and the rest is fundraising from participants.
Let's go through that very slowly. So 3 sources, the American Diabetes Association or your office. You need to raise money beyond just the fundraising part, right? What are the sources then?
Well, most of our money comes from our riders, and we have 3 levels or 3 distinct types of teams. We have corporate teams, we have family and friends teams, and then we also have clubs and organizational teams, biking clubs and things like that, cycling clubs. So that's where the most of our money comes in.
Now, the overall organization, do they get grants at all?
We do. We apply for some grant money to Lilly, Novo Nordisk, some of the pharmaceutical companies,
right.
And they'll come back. A certain amount is usually secured that way. And then our biggest push in the last few years, since we've acquired an executive committee, we've had them reach out to corporates, and we've brought them on. So we've had tremendous growth in the last several years.
So is that a direct donation, or is it a matching for?
No, it's a direct donation.
Okay.
It's sponsorship, and they acquire benefits from that. So they'll have their name, their brand logo on our T-shirts, our brochures, our start and finish line banners, the business review. We take an ad out. We'll have a billboard this year. So, one of the lines I always think of when I think of corporate sponsorship, because people say, well, why would they support the Tour de Cure? What makes you unique? And because we've been such a successful event, everyone in the Capital District pretty much has heard of us. I had one person sign on that really was an unusual sponsorship, nothing that would be tied to cycling or diabetes, and he said, because everyone likes to be tied to a winner. And that has stuck in my head, and that was 2 years ago when I said to him, actually, why are you coming on as a sponsor? I'm just curious. We presented our package, and he said, because everyone likes to be tied to a winner, and your Tour de Cure is a winner. So we have been that perfect staircase of success every year.
So that kind of gets into the whole image aspect. So if you want a business to sponsor you, it has to fit probably their image. Mm-hmm. It has to be something that they would say, well, this I think is something that I would like associated with my name.
True.
And then I guess if it has any kind of affiliation, that would double down, and obviously a drug company fits right in there.
Health insurance companies, we have a presenting sponsor, Empire Blue Cross, but we also have CDPHP involved, so it really trickles across the board.
And that helps CDPHP also, because they want to keep their costs down, right?
Absolutely, right, and it's motivated that way. Banks, First Niagara, M&T Bank, we have tremendous support on many different levels from the corporates, and a lot of them also provide corporate teams. So we find the perfect fit for them of what they're looking for by creating a customized package of what they're looking for to get their name out or to platform their company. And then we asked them, well, how about a corporate team as well? Because it's also a great team building experience. We've already got the backing of the company saying, hey, we're supporting the organization financially, so let's get together and ride. And that has been tremendous, which is, with Kivort Steel, their corporate team, again, as Howard said, grew from a team of 10 to their goal is 200 this year, and to raise $100,000, which is
$108,895 is
and there's a reason for that, which he'll tell you why.
Tell us about that.
Well, when we raise $108,895 this year, that will get us to the $500,000 mark for Kivort Steel.
I see. For a total that you've
since they started,
yeah.
And so that kind of grew out of a phone call to Denise.
Wanting to know the numbers.
How much has Kivort Steel raised so far? Yeah. And she told me, and it just seemed like a logical goal. And
Howard's very goal-oriented, which is great, as we all are. You know, we all have goals, and having it tied to a goal or a theme gets everybody that extra push.
So
I would share, by the way, that to your point about with the corporate sponsors, Rob Kivort just shared with me last week. I say very often, if it weren't for the tools that Kivort Steel gives me for the recruiting, I could be mistaken for a stalker. but they give me lots of the ability that, for instance, everyone that joins our team gets this jersey that I'm wearing. We gets a jersey like this for free. They have to just raise $250 or more, and that comes right out of Kivort Steel. They pay for that. Wow. And being in the steel business, it's not as if he can get it. Public recognition really doesn't do anything. You and I aren't going to go buy our steel there next week.
Right. The last time I built a boat was I can't remember.
Yeah. Right. So, but last week he was at a dinner, business-related dinner, and someone commented to him, "You're that bike guy."
Really?
And I said, I couldn't wait to call you. He called me as he was leaving, and someone that he does business with, but it wasn't a company he does business with, but he didn't know the individual. But you're that bike guy. So even now, here after 8 years and with the success we've had, there's that recognition for what Kivort Steel has done with this great event, you know, as being associated with it. And so Rob Kivort is that bike guy.
That's great. That's a good
cool
name to have out there.
How do you feel that you were approached? I guess did you go to Denise, or did you go to the society, or did they come to you? Oh, it was the Golf Buddy, right?
Right. It was it was that he called me. Eventually, he was persistent, got me involved, and
he asked you, right? And
yeah, a few times, but it was my daughter was the catalyst. Jennifer was, and I guess kind of the rest is history, because once he was willing to support my desire to take his team to some new level, it cost him a lot more money, but it changed everything. It's probably.
What's unique about Kivort is, and Rob is also a tremendous individual. He's very giving, and again, it's karma. He has said, you know, he could go ahead and just support us with a corporate donation, a sponsorship, and have his
time is a lot of money.
True, and he could have his logo on our materials. But what he did instead is he invested the time and effort, and then acquiring Howard as his co-captain. So what he did
is
like instead of
almost.
Exactly, instead of just making a sponsorship and giving us $10,000, and which is a tremendous sponsorship, he turned that $10,000 into $100,000. Or last year they were just under $100,000. So
and reaching to $500,000, which is amazing.
Right. So he's parlayed it by doing it this way.
Exactly. So it's a little bit unique, but you know, it was again at the bottom line it wasn't about the. And it's kind of ironic how it turned out to be, because he is winding up with all this publicity without even having to go looking for it. He could have had his logo on materials and branded and done it that way, but instead what he did was he invested it into his team, and through that he's made all kinds of relationships, corporate and otherwise. So people in the community, they see his jersey out on the road, and so he's created a whole marketing opportunity without really going after it that way. It's kind of happened.
Yeah. And with all that said, we never forget what it's about.
Right.
It's about Tour de Cure. It's about ADA. We're a vehicle, if you will. So
you give me the impression that, you know, you've got, I guess, all these things that we're told. You should do these things if you need to do fundraising to be successful. But the way you've explained it, it's so wrapped together. As you said, chicken and egg, or I think that's what you said, something like that.
Which comes first, yeah.
Right, which comes first, it's hard to say, but it seems all wrapped together. So at one point, yes, you have to ask people. If you need something and you want something, you have to reach out and ask for it. Don't be shy. But on the other hand, there's such a package and a recognition already of the need. And so there's a lot going on at the same time.
Yeah, I think the thing that's hard to get your arms around is that it's the need for someone who's passionate, and that's really hard to get. And then if that person who's passionate has the core competencies, okay, because we all have different ones.
Right.
So you need people who are passionate, and you need to determine what their core competencies are and how can they best help to get you. So I'm pretty good at recruiting riders. Okay, I'm all right with interacting with people, and so I do that regularly. We have lots of people on our team that help me.
Now, do those people have to raise money themselves?
Everyone that rides on our team has to raise, you have to raise at least $200. That's the ADA understanding. To get a free jersey from Kivort, it's $250.
So they have a goal.
Yeah, and we have other goals for them to raise more money, so that if they raise $1,000, we give them matching shorts. If they raise $2,000, we take them to what we call our High Rollers Dinner, which is at Angelo's, Angelo Mazzone's place in Tavalo, is that what we call it, in Scotia? And a private room, very, very nice night out with their significant other that Rob Kivort also pays for.
Wow.
So
do you train the people who you recruit a little bit to how they go out and ask for?
We offer that. We try to make, I try to make them feel that being on our team is a whole lot better than riding alone. And ADA, as I've come to learn, likes when people are on a team as opposed to unsponsored or individual, because they tend to raise more money when they're part of a team.
And the way you described it before, you came with something. The tools that you mentioned that Kivort gives you, the T-shirt. So if you walk up to a house and you've invested all this money in this, the shirt and some advertising, and so people are expecting you and all these things, they're not wondering, is this legitimate?
Oh no! In fact, I was at a. That's a funny word that you used today. Yesterday, I was at the Voorheesville Health Fair, and trying to recruit some high school students, and I showed one of the teenage girls our brochure, and this is our brochure that we use for our fundraising, for our recruiting. They're at like every bike shop around town. If you look at the picture on the front, it shows the starting line of the 100-mile riders last year, and so you see all of the Kivort jersey. And she looked at that and she said,
"Talk about out front."
She said, "You guys are legit." So
there you go.
And
well, that's what we worry about. You know, you get a call on the phone from somebody. Hi, we're raising money for. I don't know this person from Adam. And you want to feel that you want to make a difference, because we don't give our money up very easily sometimes. You know, we really want to feel like, yes, I believe that.
Right.
Yeah,
that's great.
Cautious society. And branching off on what Howard's saying, a lot of what he's learned and the tools he used has actually come from we offer the same type, you know, if anyone was to register and they're not on a team, and we have 136 teams right now, but if they ride as an individual, we also create those same incentives. Anyone that rides and participates day of event receives a really nice commemorative Tour de Cure t-shirt, as well as a water bottle, and then we have different levels of prizes. For us, for the ADA, for the Tour de Cure, if they raise $500, they'll receive a commemorative Tour de Cure jersey. So Howard has created his own set of incentives within, but they're pretty much based on similar to what we do on the whole for Tour de Cure. Exactly. And it is, you know, it's in a little bit of investment, but what we get back, the return on it is tremendous. So people will say, well, I'd love to have that jersey. So instead of the 200 minimum, they say, I'm going to get to 500. And then we also have our champions that are the riders that raise $1,000 or more. And we also, similar to Howard, again, he's learned a lot from us, we have a champions dinner 2 nights before tour, and we, as a thank you to them and saying thank you, you know, you've raised this money, you're a champion of our event, and we appreciate it. So it's...
Now, I'd kind of like to get my hands around the main factors, the main things that an organization could think about. You know, I guess one would be you need a cause that people can relate to. Wouldn't that make sense? I mean, who can't relate to the problem of diabetes? Every day we're looking at the packages saying how much fat and what's your cholesterol and things like that, which could lead to diabetes, and we're all struggling against it. So you got that.
Yeah.
Right.
And every 17 seconds, someone is diagnosed with diabetes.
And right now, what was just recently released, if we don't try to do things, which we're trying to be advocates out there and changing people's lifestyles, getting them to eat healthy, exercise every day, is that by the year 2050, 1 in 3 Americans will have diabetes, which those are staggering statistics. Diabetes kills more people than breast cancer and AIDS together.
And as Howard mentioned, it can make your life difficult from early on.
Oh, yeah.
It's just your day-to-day living.
Right.
Right.
So
in addition to ending your life in a horrible way, it makes you have a kind of a difficult time throughout your life. You try to go to a restaurant and you have to excuse yourself and do an injection or something.
Right. They're always testing their blood sugar constantly.
Right.
It's quite a burden.
So that would be maybe, I would say, the basic thing. You need a good cause, but most people have that. They believe in their cause, and you said that's the passion.
Well, you need to get someone that's passionate, and then you have to identify their core competencies and get them in the right place, the right seat on the bus, if you will, so that they can.
So you need to understand what they're good at.
Yeah.
That's a business thing. So
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
It's that I do this like it's
approach
just
it
I do a business
business
plan. I
angle.
do a business plan for this.
well, we had someone on the show who was in the accounting side and trying to help organizations. And I know I read in some of the material that you gave me that there was a study out showing that a third, I think it was in Wisconsin, but that probably reflects the rest of the country, a third of people of private nonprofits, of nonprofits, were actually running a deficit. And you can't do that very long, and it probably puts a lot of stress on everybody in the organization.
True.
So this is so important.
Right. Absolutely. Financially, it comes down to the dollars for sure.
Yeah. I think we happen to live in a wonderful community too.
Right.
I think a lot of our success, ours, I mean, because we're on the same team. When I say our, I mean, it's, I have Kivort Steel, but this is about
It's about ADA.
ADA.
Right.
It does say a lot about our community. And that's part of it.
Yeah,
The
it's-
core. We have a lot of giving people. Besides the fact that the event is well run and organized, it's, we're passion driven, I think, our community on the whole, which separates us from a lot of other communities. So we're very fortunate and feel very blessed.
Yeah, because while we have a lot of cyclists in the area, then certainly that's the key. I used to try to recruit people at malls, and I discovered I need to find people that have bicycles. I could talk to people in the mall, but it wasn't the right.
Not everybody goes and buys a bicycle to do it.
Right. So so you need to kind of that's sort of an underlying requirement. But the fact that we beat Denver, Colorado, where bicycling is a way of life, and I mean cyclists out there have they trump the cars as far as right of way and what have you. I mean, it's really a way of life.
More than cars.
And the Saratoga Springs Tour de Cure can beat Denver, Colorado. I think speaks
That's
a lot
pretty amazing.
about how well run this event is by Amy and Denise. Amy being the director. And our community.
The day of event experience is unlike anything that you'll ever see. We'll have this last year, and this year we'll have over 2,000 riders that show up that day at the Saratoga Springs High School, and that day is surrounded by love and inspiration, motivation, and we really honor the Red Riders, those are the people that are riding in the event with diabetes. They usually are about 10% of our population of riders, so this year our goal is to have 200 riders that have diabetes. And that's a difficult reach because it's a huge step for those people to take to get if they have type 2 diabetes and they've been, their lifestyle hasn't been active and they're overweight, to say to them,
You're gonna be
come
on a
on,
bike?
get on a
Right.
bike. But it triggers something in them once they've decided to make the commitment and do it. And we reach out through doctors' offices, endocrinologists, as best as we can and say, we're here for you, but come enjoy this day, whether it's riding a bike or volunteering. But if you can take that first step of getting yourself healthy and then being there day of event with all this love around you and support, it really does make a difference.
Now, how did you choose? Maybe you don't know, but maybe you have some advice. You could have chosen, or the ADA could have chosen a different type of event. Maybe a lot of people do walking because everybody can walk. And you look at the demographic and somebody might say, well, everybody walks, but not everybody has a bike. But you've been so successful. So any advice in when you're looking at what kind of event to do?
Well, you could look at it in two aspects. You can say, well, not everybody has a bike, so boy, does that narrow the margin of people we're going to be looking at. But at the same point, everybody can walk. It's a good and bad thing, but it means that which event are they going to choose to walk in? And we actually did have a walk, and our walk, because we did compete with lots of other walks, and as best and as organized we were with that walk, it flatlined for us financially. And obviously, what we needed to do was we needed to raise more money every year. So we finally, our director, Amy, who's been in her position for 15 years and is tremendous, very driven and motivated, saw and made a plea and said, how about if we absorb that budget into tour and we work year-round for the Tour de Cure? Most people that ride bikes are usually at a higher income level because they can afford the
Right.
bike, and it's an expensive hobby. But that also tells you that they might have better resources for fundraising.
And they're more active, so they're probably, well, they're healthier. They can think and understand that it's a good cause.
True. So we were one of the first local offices that did away with our walk event, and we absorbed that budget. And we have, in the last couple of years, have had seen a 20% growth in our fundraising by the, and we've staggered every year. We've grown, some smaller measures than other, but the last few years there's been a 20% income growth in our fundraising. So that we have said
You
we've
can't do
obviously
that
done
forever,
the right thing.
but that's
right.
awesome.
Well, yeah.
Sure, we
That's
can.
awesome.
Yes, we're goal driven. So
That's
yes.
amazing. You also said that you had a target for the people who were writing. Now, was that for the whole organization or only for Kivort, the $200?
No, the whole organization, every person
So
that
if you
participates.
got 2,000 people, I was just trying to do a back of the envelope kind of thing, and the target is 200, or that's you want to reach that at least. You're probably going to have some people over that.
Right. Our average.
So how did you think about that?
Our average fundraising for our event is $487 per rider. So we are actually above national standards.
And if you had 2,000, that gets you pretty close to $1 million, it looked like.
Right.
if
Well,
you-
we'll be over $1 million this year. Our goal is to be
Right.
over $1 million.
Our goal is $1.25 million.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's a 25%, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Yes. So
That's pretty
We're
amazing.
confident, though. But again, having people like Howard, and we have a wonderful group, our executive committee, our planning committee, a lot of people that are supporting us behind the scenes that are out there diligent every day. Some fantastic family and friends teams that have children that have diabetes, and they're out there and they are at the schools and are at the malls on the weekend looking for support. They work hard and show up day of event, with these teams, some of them raising $30,000 and greater as a family and friends team, which is also tremendous.
Let's talk about some of your promotional materials just for a second. Because I was thinking people could be a promotional item also. You're a wonderful promotional
Thank you.
Our walking billboard.
entity.
Yeah, well, I never thought I'd be seen in public in spandex, but it's a small price to pay.
Small. So how do you go about coming up with this kind of, as you described, tools? And do you have a spokesperson also? Is there one person? How do you think about that? Image.
Our tools, we have a budget, so we stay within a budget, but every year we distribute 60,000 brochures and 2,000 posters in the local area.
Say that number again.
60,000 brochures.
Wow.
And they go out, they're distributed amongst the Capital District, as well as 2,000 posters.
I think we could tell the smaller organizations that this is what happens when you grow 20% a year. You get up to numbers like 60,000 brochures.
Right, and so again, our best customers for spreading the word are our riders. They've had a great experience. So we do use media to some degree. We actually have our PR firm that we're working with this year that has really catapulted us into which is why we're here, our first experience, but it's been tremendous. Our name is out there a lot more than it ever has been with media coverage, stories in the newspapers locally.
And there's competition.
Reporters.
As you mentioned before with the walk, you changed products in a way.
Right. So this has been a tremendous year for us.
I think I heard on the TV last week somebody was doing a ride that weekend.
Yeah, there probably could be, yes. We have, most of the tours have not started. They'll be usually around the same time as ours, June. They start end of May.
So you have a
there
national.
was one in Miami last
it's
weekend.
Coordinated nationally.
Yes, correct.
So that would help with your promotion.
Well, it helps because we reach back to the national. The brochures that go out nationally look just like this, except they're changed the details as far as location, who the sponsors are, and a little bit more detailed information about the routes.
You have a big sign here.
This is actually from a few years ago. We're actually going into our 22nd year for the tour, but that is the current date, and it's just a really nice visual that's portable. It gives you a description briefly of the fact that this is a ride, not a race. That's one of the biggest things we really try to put out there. And there's something for everyone. So there's no age requirement, or we have riders as young as 10 years old and as old as 80 years old that are out there on their bikes, because their cycling is something that never has to go away. Fortunately,
I notice you've got photos of people's faces, so
Yes.
you can see
Red
riders.
and riders.
Right?
These are from our actual event. That's
And the Red
Kivort Steel.
Rider, I almost missed that, but those are people with diabetes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, type 1 or type 2, that they ride with diabetes.
And the brochures make it so that, like the business card almost,
Right.
You can take something with you when
Portable
you pass
advertising,
it.
right.
I noticed a few more things over here.
Yeah, so the Kivort Steel, we only do 1,000 brochures, but
That's a lot for one organization.
we're more strategic, if you will,
Right.
because we need to be.
Right.
So, but every place that we are, the ADA brochure is right beside it because we do bike shops, and so
Well, that makes sense.
we have our little takeaway that gets people to learn about ADA, and I try to, when I'm doing my recruiting, I always couple it with the Tour de Cure brochure, and this is our little sign with our goals that we set for the year, and our average rider, our largest single group rides the 100-mile ride, so we have a lot of serious cyclists.
Wow.
And so we tend to average.
Couldn't sit on the seat that long.
You're right, you couldn't. But our goal this year is to have 200 riders, and our team alone will ride 10,000 miles that day. Just our team.
Wow.
Okay, because our average rider comes out to a little over 50 miles. So
Now, as an individual team, what was your goal when you made this, what do you call that, a little stand-up display?
Well, these are just for the bike shops, to the little silent salesmen, if you will, that
Okay,
for when
so
I'm
they
not
both
there.
go together.
Yes, right. So they're
Gotcha.
just there, and we just try to do a nice job with them. And the bike shops are so supportive of us, and we try to reciprocate. Very often we'll buy a gift certificate for their bike shop for allowing us to come in and recruit from their customers. But now this year, for the first time ever, some of them are donating gift certificates to our team to use for our recruiting. So that's kind of come full circle, that we are having, where they're saying thank you for what you do for cycling and for diabetes.
And what kind of gift certificates are they?
Well, Blue Sky Bicycle Shop up in Saratoga gave us
Okay.
a $100 gift certificate for their shop. For
Oh, that's
anything.
great. That's significant.
Okay, yeah, that'd be they were the ones that first did that, and gave me the idea where I saw that, gee, this is meaningful to the bike shops also, and
Right, because that is
and others are
that's a
coming also,
healthy
but
discount.
they started that for us, and Plains Bicycle Shop does so much for us, and Elevate, and Steiner's was the first to allow me to even recruit from their riders. So it's been a heck of an experience for me.
Let's go in, because we're getting closer to your ride. It's going to be when, and let's just talk about that a little bit.
Sunday, June 2nd at the Saratoga Springs High School. It's always the first Sunday in June, so it could be a little chilly, but we're hoping for nice weather. So that's the one thing we don't.
It may be beautiful.
Yes, we had a beautiful year last year, so we're always hoping and sending our thoughts to Mother Nature to maybe make sure she provides a beautiful day for us. But
Well, 3 years ago it was raining sideways,
yeah, we
and
do.
it was a fabulous day.
Right, that's true. We
So-
ride rain or shine. It just makes it all the sweeter when you finish and cross that line, whether it's raining or not. So we do. We'll hold the event regardless.
Describe what the day would be like.
Well, the riders that ride the longest distance, which would be the 100-mile riders.
So that's why you're up front.
They show up at 6:30. We're actually, the staff and our volunteers show up at the school at 4:30 in the morning. We've already been there the day before getting everything. It's like planning a big party. So everything needs to be in place for our riders. That's part of the detailed work, making sure when they show up, everything, it's
Do you have any
beautiful.
volunteers for that also?
Oh, yes. We have
Okay.
actually, day of event, we have over 300 volunteers that
Wow.
will make sure that we have people out on rest stops. We have, same thing on, Howard's mentioning bike shops. We have tremendous support from our bike shops that show up day of event. They give us, which is, LL Bean, Downtube, Elevate. We have Freeman's Bridge, EMS. So we have them all there at the beginning of the school, right at the front, helping. Do you need help with your bike? You need oil on your chain, changing, air in your tires. So right away from the beginning of the morning, the riders come into that kind of support. We have a breakfast. We have great in-kind donations from Chobani Yogurt. We'll have coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. Dee Crescenti provides all of our beverages for water and et cetera. So They start out great.
So how
every
soon
ride's
does somebody
staggered.
get there again?
6:30 in the morning.
Everybody okay.
They check in, the Century Riders. Their ride takes place. They leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then right after them, we stagger the rides so that
Okay.
everybody comes back somewhat to a similar time or at lunchtime. And then we have a metric Century ride that goes off at 7:30, 62.5 miles. And then from there, it's 50, 25, 10. And then we also have if you are someone that says, you know, I don't really want to be out on the roads or I don't own a bike, but I'd love to participate, some tremendous spinners that are, it's an indoor cycling event that happens during the course of all of this as well. There'll be 100 bikes available for people that say, no interest in being outdoors, but I will ride for 3 hours inside, which would be the equivalent of 40 to 50 miles if they
were
yeah.
in a
That's
distance.
somewhat new. This will be our 4th year of doing that, but we've got tremendous feedback from that. So people enjoy. The gym people that are, you know, just love being indoors on a spin bike, they go and they have a great time and support a great cause.
Excellent. And what's your day going to be like? You're riding, right?
I ride. It's really, with 200 riders, most of whom I don't know. I may have met them at a bike shop. I'm surprised at how many names I can remember and things about the people, but it's getting to where it's so big now that I wrestle with what I should do, and because it's nice to be there. They want to meet me because they get a lot of emails from me.
Right.
All right. Well,
that's Howard. There's Howard.
Yeah. Right. Some of them have blocked me, but for the most part, they get a lot of emails either talking about our training events, and we're constantly talking about fundraising. You know, they get emails from me to remind them why we do this. So it's
right.
And I go and I look at individuals. I can download my roster. I can download what their fundraising is, and I can try to target some individual people. Like we put out contests periodically, as ADA does, to raise money this week, and we'll give a gift card to a local shop or something. So and ADA does things like that also. I guess today is the day they're giving us socks.
Now, if somebody wants to help or participate,
at our website, at the main page, when you go into our Saratoga Springs website, it not only does it give you a great overview of our event and what happens, it also lists the teams who our top riders are already. There's also, if you scroll down the page, it will talk about how important the volunteers are for our event, and there's a link that they can click onto. It'll bring them right to a volunteer form that can be sent right to our office. So,
are there any time issues? How much of a procrastinator can they be? Obviously, they should do it right now, but.
Well, of course, right. The earlier people register for the event, usually are, statistically speaking, they raise more money. So we always try to, right after the event is over, and Howard does the same, starts at saying, well, what about next year? So we recruit as early as we can. But riders can register, and we have usually anywhere between 100 and 200 that walk on the site day of event and write out a check for their $200 minimum. They get their T-shirt, water bottle, and they show up and they go out and ride their 50 or 25.
So if you're really busy but you really care, just show up with your bike.
Some people wake up and they say, it's a sunny morning, I'm going to go for a ride. It's a great cause and it's well run, and I get lunch and I have a great breakfast and support along the way, and I get to meet 2,000 other people.
That's awesome.
And I would say if they're going to go to the website, if they're thinking about doing this, anyone can start a team. You don't have to own a company. We have the three.
You're with the company, but you're with a team from another company.
Yeah. Well, I don't work for Kivort Steel.
No,
But my point being, I think the requirement is a minimum of 5 riders.
I see.
If you want your own team. So it's a little bit of work, but if you know some people, start your own team. I like to grow the Kivort team, but that's secondary. The most important thing is to grow the event, get people involved in tour. So, and I would say if they want it, they don't feel like starting a team, and they are not affiliated, their company they work for doesn't have a team, then they can join the Kivort team. We're happy to have them.
So you could use this for your club, for your church, for your business. You could even get your neighbors together, which would be kind of neat.
We have
to have
all
people
varieties.
in the neighborhood know each other around something like this.
We have a hair salon that has a team this year. I mean, we have all kinds of. We have banks and hair salons and health insurance companies.
Anyone can have a team.
Construction companies. Yeah, we have anyone.
That's great.
It's a great way to bring people together.
Any other suggestions of what people should do? You do things so well. We've covered a lot of details, but there are probably many, many questions that people have, and I know we can't answer them all. Any advice for people trying to fundraise that you would give?
I guess it's simple. Ask. We provide great resources, and that is one of the biggest and most frequent questions that I have that people call me all the time. I'd like to do it, but I hate to ask for the money. So I very simply say to them, you need to remember one thing. This is not for you. And sometimes people feel happy to be asked. Number one, they can always say no. But it gives them an opportunity that if they know of somebody that has diabetes, like I have done with other causes in the past, I'm glad when someone asks because I know that I'd like to be able to make a difference and that my dollars can go towards the bigger picture. So it's not something that goes back into that person's pocket. So I say that, take that away. It's not money that's going into your pocket. You're a role model out there for this cause. And if people, they're happy that you're acting as a role model, and they might want to support it because their dad was just diagnosed, their child. So they're saying, I'm happy to write out a check. We provide great resource tools. Social media has become tremendous. Posting it on Facebook. People have hundreds, sometimes thousands of friends, and you never know whose reach. You might touch someone that says, and we've had those stories come through where someone has said, wow, I haven't talked to you in 20 years. We graduated high school together, and guess what? I was diagnosed with diabetes last year. Here, I'm making an online donation for $100. Thank you. And the person that's putting the ask out there through Facebook had no idea. So it's a perfect example. Emails. Even as simple as a letter, sometimes just going back old school and doing something hard copy and mailing out a personal letter. We support all of our riders with templates, and then they can customize that. Every person that registers for tour gets a personal page. They can put pictures in it. They can tell their own personal story, use it as a platform of saying, this is why I ride. And people are genuinely drawn to their link, and they read it and they are inspired, and so that all of those measures really contribute to a successful fundraising.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah, make it personal.
Yes.
Make a personal plea. Let people know that it's important to you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have the most difficult time is getting small donations. So for those people who watch this, and we're all approached, give $5 or $10 instead of nothing. I know I have it. I send out to everyone I know, as you can imagine.
Right.
All right. So, but I'll bet you I have a few hundred people that give nothing, and I know it's maybe because they feel they can't give a lot. But $5 from those few hundred people would be a lot. And when you extrapolate that out toward all the riders and everyone that's got that. So even if you can't give a lot, give a little. It really, $5 matters when you start multiplying by the numbers of people. So,
well, yours is certainly a really important cause, and I'm proud that we can help. I hope that you reach your goal. That would be just awesome. You have a very ambitious goal, but you've done so much already.
Well, thank you. There are 26 million Americans that are currently living with diabetes, and there are 79 million Americans that have pre-diabetes.
That's about 10%. It's getting up to 10% of our...
It is. The statistics
I think
are staggering.
we're all in danger of getting closer to diabetes.
Right. Absolutely. So we're in there for the fight.
Thank you both for being on the show and what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. It was great.
And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show, that you tune in again next time, and that you have a great week. Take care. Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie.